Hello everybody and welcome back to my series, The Religious Stripper. Thank you so much to everyone who's been watching this series. I was so nervous about posting it because I was just so much more comfortable being just the sexy girl and just doing my burlesque shows and just keeping everything surface level because it gets likes and follows, and honestly you don't have to put much of yourself out there, which I know sounds silly, and this is actually what I'm going to be talking about today, but it's so much easier to post or to be on stage and to just be sexy and just show your body and not show your soul. It's 1,000 times easier in my opinion because people can make remarks or judgments or say whatever they want, and it doesn't really affect you as much because it's just the outward appearance. I think it's so much more difficult to share what's on the inside and to share feelings and emotions and opinions because those can be judged, and those are something that can be changed but is more real to you as a person, I feel. So yeah, I've been amazed at some of the comments I've been getting, some of the feedback on my Instagram messages, on the comments on here. It's been just really, really cool for me. So thank you guys for watching and for following, and for just supporting my YouTube channel because it's brand new. And yeah, it's scary breaking out of the mold, but it's cool. So on that note, today I want to talk about more about my life as a burlesque performer and just kind of who I became and why I chose to become that person. And I think that this will not only help other girls know that it's okay, but I think it will help give perspective to people who are not that, and help people understand why girls choose to do these things sometimes, and just give a different kind of perspective to it all. So yeah, so anyways, in my last episode I talked about just like how I became a burlesque performer and how that was like so life-changing. I'm gonna dive more into like my time as a burlesque performer and some of the crazy stuff I did. I did a lot of crazy stuff. But I kind of want to talk more about my trauma in terms of relationships and what happened there first, because I think it's important. And yeah, this is going to be a funny episode. It's one I'm more hesitant to share, but it's one that I think is important to share. So basically, after my marriage, I was totally like traumatized. I was like so in love with this person, and I knew all the dark parts of this person probably better than anyone, just because of how much time I spent sitting down and listening to explanation after explanation after explanation about why his brain was the way that it was. Maybe not better than anybody. His family probably knew better than me because they lived with him for his whole life. But I would say outside of family, I just learned a lot about how his brain worked. And in another episode, I'll go more into like mental health and what I've come to learn about mental health and rewiring your brain and all of that. But that's not what I'm talking about today. I'm actually going to talk more about sex today. Reminding myself to stay on track here. There's so many things I want to talk about. So I'm kind of, the majority of my story is pretty much over. So now I'm going to go more into like the learning lessons because I learned a lot. I have a little bit more of my story left, but I want to kind of start jumping into more lessons. I'm going to start bringing on other guests onto here as well, so you can hear different things that other girls or guys have learned too in overcoming abuse, finding yourself, pursuing your dreams, breaking out of the mold, getting past like family pressures, just standing up for yourself and just walking in your path of who you're supposed to be. Okay, I had a lot of traumas coming out of my marriage, and so when I became this burlesque performer, it was the most wild experience for me. I kind of jumped into like a rebound relationship right after my marriage, and then he bought me like an engagement ring after 3 months. I wasn't even like divorced yet. I was still trying to save my marriage, and I freaked out. And I just remember telling him, I do not want another relationship. I do not want another marriage. I don't want to be the girl with like a string of marriages behind her. Like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. I just know like I want to fall in love over and over again. I just want to live out every fantasy I've ever had and just like figure it out. I had no idea how much I meant that on even a subconscious level. But that's what I ended up doing. I basically was just like, I am done with relationships. I don't think I fully like consciously understood I was done with relationships. I think subconsciously I decided I was done, because consciously I would still be like, so boyfriend, girlfriend, but I wasn't acting like I wanted that. And I think I really didn't. I really think I was traumatized. And that's okay. It's not good to jump into another relationship right after you get out of something so traumatic. Like, you need time to grow and to understand yourself so it doesn't happen again. Because I did not want to be the girl who had a bad relationship with her dad, became a stripper, and was in abusive relationships for the rest of her life. I didn't want to be that girl. And I already was seeing like patterns starting and beginning to form. You know, I went into I'll say emotionally abusive relationship, marriage after my dad, and then I became a burlesque dancer, and obviously there were temptations to become a stripper. I had opportunities, but I never wanted to go that route. And I think a big part of that was I didn't want to be that girl. I did not want to be that girl, especially coming from the missionary Christian roots that I had. I was just really adamant that I didn't want that path. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I love strippers. I think they're great. I've had strippers work for me. A lot of my best friends have been strippers. Like, I'm comfortable like being naked for certain things, but just to be in a strip club, to be a stripper, it just did not sit well with me at all. So it was just not something that I wanted. And for my mental state and what I wanted, I'm thankful it was never something I got into. So what happened though was my whole life I was always like this like little like awkward nerdy school valedictorian girl, and I always had a boyfriend, but I never felt like I was never the popular girl. I never had like, you know, all the popular boys coming after me. I was like very nerdy and had my glasses and to myself and awkward and didn't know how to make friends. I guess I always like had a lot of friends, but I just wasn't the popular girl, you know? And that was fine. I really didn't care. I just wanted to be the smart girl, honestly. And so then, yeah, I suddenly go through this divorce. I come out of it. I dye my hair blue. I change my identity. I'm going by Alicia Cirque. I cut off ties with everybody that I knew and just start a brand new life. No one knows where I'm living. No one knows what I'm doing. I'm blocking people on Instagram, and I just like, I don't want to hear it, you know. I just need to find myself and live for myself, which is okay. You are allowed to find yourself. You have to find yourself. It's so important. People get so caught up in no, but my family, no, but my friends, no, but this, no, but this. You will never be happy. You will never find yourself. You will never be content until you are alone and find yourself. Period. It's so important. Mine was more extreme. I was alone, but I needed to do that. For me, I think that people still need to take time to find themselves, period. And I will not go against that ever. Okay, so yes, need time alone to find yourself. Anyways, so I was that nerd kid. When I went through my divorce, I'm suddenly this new girl in Hollywood, burlesque dancer with blue hair, brand new aerialist coming on the scene, and burlesque dancer and all these things. And I'm suddenly surrounded by like all these like beautiful, impressive, talented people. And like, I'm not nerdy anymore. I'm like suddenly like hotter than I was. And at this point, I'm more confident, not because I'm more confident, but I don't give a anymore. I'm trying not to cuss. I just don't care anymore. So I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm not trying to gain anything. Like, at this point, it's like I've lost everything that, like, it doesn't even matter, you know? I'm just ready to live. And it was so great because I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I wasn't trying to please anybody. I just had to figure out how to keep surviving, but I wanted to do it my way and have the career that I wanted. So I just was like, I'm just gonna live my life, you know? And so because I had that level of confidence that I never had, where I wasn't trying to please anyone and I just wanted to do whatever made me happy, whatever made me feel good, whatever made me excited, I suddenly got all this attention from all these like incredible people, and it was super overwhelming, but I was living. So, you know, I never dated before. I didn't know anything about dating. I didn't know anything about how the dating world worked because I was never allowed to date as a kid because I was a kid. And then my ex-husband was the first person that I actually like legitimately was dating, and that was it. And like I had already had 4 years of knowing this guy, so it wasn't even like, you know, we dated for a month and then we're boyfriend and girlfriend, and then a year later we were married. So I never really knew anything about dating. I didn't know anything about like, I only knew like how to get a husband really. And I knew that I didn't want a husband, so suddenly I'm in Hollywood and I'm attractive and I have all this male attention, impressive male attention coming at me. So I ran with it. I ran hard. I had so many insane experiences. I pretty much got to live every fantasy I ever had. Safely is important. Never forget that. But man, I went from climbing through windows and breaking into people's houses, meeting somebody and just, not even meeting someone, just locking eyes with someone and walking up to them and just like suddenly like being intertwined. Meeting people all over the world. I, you know, have had my fun on cliff tops during sunsets over. Sorry guys, my camera dies like every time I do this. I did say from the beginning though that it was gonna be low production and just me, just raw, just me and my story. So here it is. This is the raw, unfiltered, my camera dies and my SD card fills up too quickly, so I can't film this thing straight through. But that's okay. Anyways, awesome experience of life, just living, and I got to have fun with a bunch of everything, just everything. The rock stars, the celebrities, the Instagram models, just enjoyed life to the fullest. And yeah, I had a great time. I just learned everything about myself. This is honestly like kind of hard for me to admit publicly, but I think it's just so important, so I'm just gonna admit it. I just had an insane 3-ish years of just connecting with people. Guys, a little bit of girls, you know, just trying everything, just living out every fantasy, literally falling in and out of love like every week. Was it healthy? Not necessarily, but did I need to do it? Yes, I will never take that back, because, you know, when you're in your 20s, there's so much you don't know about yourself, and until you take the time to figure it out, you're not gonna know. You're just not gonna know. And if you lock yourself down into a relationship in your early 20s, you have only so much leeway to grow and find out who you really are. And until you really know who you are and your brain is fully developed at 25, you just don't know. You don't know what you like and what you don't like. And what I'm coming to understand, you know, it definitely got to the point where I was getting a bad rep. And I got into an incident that I did not want to be in. And that was the moment I realized I need to stop. I've been doing this for a while. I'm getting into this bad cycle of stop, take some time alone. Now I'm gonna try and date. I tried to date, but I don't like dating. I don't like having this whole fake presentation of let's awkwardly sit down and tell our life story for the 20,000th time as if somehow you're gonna have something amazing to say that I've never heard before, and then awkwardly wait until maybe you text me back or I text you back, and then we try to figure out the next fun thing to do. And it's just like too much, especially in LA when you're constantly getting distractions everywhere. I'm not a dater. I'm not the kind of person that likes to go on dates. I like things to happen naturally and organically without any pressure, especially after having been married once. And that's okay too. Everyone has their own style and their own way of going about things, and that's the fun of 20s, is finding out what's your style and finding out who has the same style as you that you can connect with, because not everyone will and not everyone should, because we're not all meant to be together. Some people are more compatible together than other people are, and that's okay. That is okay. And so I say that because, like, if you follow me actively, you know that I'm always with my two best friends, Melspiration and Angie Calderone. And if you follow them, you know we are completely different people. Mel's on one end of the spectrum, Angie's on the other end of the spectrum, I'm in the middle. And if you follow who we are, you'll see that very clearly. And the thing that I've learned is that it's okay. It's okay to be three different people. It's okay to be whoever you are, as long as you're really being your authentic, true self. You know, I learned different things from both my friends. They can't give me the same advice on the same things because we're not all the same person, and that's okay. So, you know, I say that because, especially in this day and age, it's so easy as a girl to get slut-shamed still, and you can do the exact same thing that a guy does, and for guys, it's like, go bro, you're awesome, and for girls, it's like, oh, you're such a slut. That's not cool, because at the end of the day, a girl needs to be able to find herself too. And I say that as somebody who's been on opposite sides of the spectrum, who's been married and realized that was I didn't know anything. I rushed something that I shouldn't have because I had religious pressures on me. I was alone and I was scared and I was desperate. And then I've been on the other end of the spectrum where I've been super free, maybe too free, and just experienced everything to the point of just getting into bad cycles. So that's what I was saying. I was in these cycles of I date, I get frustrated and annoyed, so then I just go on a fucking spree. And then eventually I get caught up in my feelings, I get hurt, I'll say loosely. I'll just realize I rushed something that wasn't compatible because I was just having fun, and then stop and be alone for a while and then start the cycle all over again. Until I finally realized I needed to break the cycle. And I did. But all that experience taught me was that it really helps me find myself. I came to understand what I did like in people, what I didn't like in people, what worked for me, what didn't. I had to learn how to speak up for myself. I had to learn what my boundaries were. I had to learn how to communicate. And now I don't share about my romantic life on social media at all. That's just not something I want to do. But now I realize, because I went through all these experiences, I can now confidently know what I do like and what I don't like. So I don't have to, I can be intentional with everything that I do because I've taken the time to understand myself. You can't be in a relationship until you understand yourself, or it can easily become toxic. You can't find your person until you understand yourself, because you're not going to understand what you need out of a partner. And you really can't love somebody until you love yourself. I really had to go on a self-love journey. And, you know, there was this balance of, yes, I needed to have fun and just have fun. There was a point, though, where it's like, I'm having too much fun and I'm giving myself away too easily. There's a balance. There is, and only you can know what's too much and what's not enough. And, you know, it's a very, like, thin line, but it really just comes down to, you have to be true to you and know what you do for you and why. So I'm sorry guys, it's so choppy sometimes, but I realize now, like, how much I've learned just from all my different experiences. And it's okay to be single. It's good to be single. It's good to take time to yourself. It's good to experience people in your own way. Like, if that means going on a lot of dates, go on a lot of dates. If that means barely going on dates, barely go on dates, if that means not dating and just having fun, but doing it safely and communicating so you're not hurting people's feelings, that's okay too. It's just about becoming healthy and being true to yourself and doing good to other people, you know, and being able to communicate. The ghosting culture is ridiculous. It's okay to just say, I'm not interested, I'm sorry, you know? But that's just a huge thing, and it's important to like know that it's okay to be where you're at. That's really what it all comes down to, in my opinion. I had to go through what I went through to become healthy. And honestly, had I not gone and experienced a bunch of people, I probably would have continued the cycle of finding unhealthy partners for myself and not being healthy myself, to know my own boundaries and to know what I do like and what I don't and how to communicate effectively. But because I do now, I can actively learn how to communicate with my partner or whoever I need to communicate, even in my friendships, you know, it's so important, so important. So that is that. I feel like that was kind of a more choppier episode, but I did want to share a little bit more about that. But yeah, there's so many different routes that I can take with this now. What I would absolutely love, you know, getting some feedback from people, hearing that people are listening to this and that it's helping people. I would absolutely love, you know, subscribe and like, but also comment below. Let me know what you want to hear about. I honestly, there's so much that I've been waiting to share, and I'm so excited that I'm finally starting to share and that people are listening, because there's a lot more that I want to share about. And at this point, having gone through so many different styles of life, I have a lot to share. So feel free to comment below, ask, you know, if you have specific questions of what you would like to ask, feel free to ask them. And let me know what you would like advice on even, because I would love to share that advice. So I will be continuing a little bit more into my story in the next episode. I'm going to talk about how I started my company, why I started it, and how I basically ran the illegal underground rock and roll scene after being a Christian missionary girl. So that will be my next episode and what I'm going to talk about there. Just wanted to detour a little to talk about my crazy years. I didn't go too much into the stories, but you know, still kind of feeling out what's most needed on here and what direction I want to take with this. And I think the important thing is just learning, you know, the number one takeaway from this episode that I want to be is to just know it's okay. It's okay to be where you're at. It's okay to do what you need to do, as long as you do it safely and smartly and you're not hurting people. Live your life and find yourself and be true to you. So on that note, I hope you have a great Thursday. I will see you for the next episode, and yeah, comment below. Let me know what you would like to hear more about, and I'll have a couple more episodes here to wrap up my story, and then I'll go into some more learned life lessons, and then I'll start bringing on some guests. So yeah, have a beautiful day. Thanks for joining me. I will see you all for the next episode.